worked for the NUM as a national coordinator responsible for education and was later elected its secretary, general secretary. In 1990, when the banning of the ANC and other political organizations were lifted, Comrade Motlanthe was tasked with re-establishing the legal structures of the ANC in Gauteng. He served 2 5-year terms as Secretary General from December 1997 to December 2007. As Secretary General, he was responsible for the overall operations of the organization and other related tasks. At the end of his term as President, President Kgalema Motlanthe was appointed by Deputy President of the Republic, was appointed to, and he served, was appointed Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, and he served in that position from 11 May 2009 until 24 May 2014. He is currently the patron of the Kgalema Motlanthe Foundation that was established in 2014, whose mission is to contribute to equitable and inclusive growth on the continent. He is actively continuing to serve the development of communities and society at large, and serves as trustee in many organizations and foundations such as the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, Lillis Leaf Museum Trust, Institute for African Alternatives, the Brazzaville Foundation, among others. He serves as a commissioner on the Global Commission on Drug Policy. He is founding chair of the Eastern and Southern Africa Commission on Drugs. He was appointed patron of the following organizations: International Jazz Day South Africa, Federation International de Philately 2022. He also serves in a structure of former heads of state and government in Africa, the Champions of an African of HIV-free Africa. In 2015, he was inducted in the Hall of Fame at the Hotel Nacional de Cuba in Havana, Cuba. In 2016, he was appointed by the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa to head the report of the high-level panel on the assessment of key legislation and acceleration of fundamental change. Our former Deputy President and former President of the Republic is an independent director of the advisory board of Ivanhoe International Mines. Over and above the aforestated institutions and organizations, he served 2 terms as the Chancellor of the University of Venda in South Africa. He is a recipient of several honorary doctorates from local and overseas universities. He accepted the invitation from the organization, from his organization, the African National Congress, to serve as the chairperson of the board of the O.R. Tambo School of Leadership, a position he has held since its inception. He was nominated by President Emmerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe to chair a commission of inquiry to investigate the violence that broke out in Zimbabwe after the 2018 national presidential elections. In 2021, he was appointed chairperson of the ANC Electoral Committee for the 55th ANC National Conference at Nazareth, Johannesburg, which was held from 16 to 20 December. Thank you, Comrade Chair. Thanks, comrades.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Cornelius, for that indication of the credential of the speaker on the platform. As a facilitator of this session, equally, I would like to welcome the guest speaker, Comrade President Motlanthe. You are welcome in this region. You are welcome in King Nyabela Mahlangu branch, Ward 5 in Montana. And therefore, without waste of any time, I will therefore, it's 22 past 7. I will therefore hand over to yourself, then so that we can then begin with the presentation. Just before you do, comrades, the procedure, as we know, is that the speaker will present, and therefore after that there will be clarity-seeking questions and comments and the discussions. At this point in time, comrades, those who are joining, those who have joined, I expect the maximum discipline. There must be silence. The person who will be on the platform is going to be the speaker, Comrade President Motlanthe. Thank you very much. Comrade President, over to you. Comrade President Motlanthe.
Yes, thank you very much, comrades. Good evening. I'm sorry that my laptop gave me a bit of problems, but nonetheless, here am I, happy to join this political education session. And as already indicated by the chairperson, the topic for this session is the path towards renewal. What a renewed ANC will look like, or how must a renewed ANC look like? That's our topic. Now, many proposals have been made over the years on how to renew the ANC. And maybe I would just quote from... Is it audible? Can you hear me, comrades? Is it audible?
Yeah, Comrade President, we can hear you very clearly. You can proceed.
All right, thank you. So,
thank you.
Perhaps just to indicate that the ANC has been seized with the need to renew itself over a considerable period of time now. If you go back to the resolutions and reports of conferences from the 52nd conference, so you will find that there's always reference to the need to renew the ANC. So that this need became, pronounced precisely because the assessment of the ANC in terms of its organizational state of health identified problems, several problems. And that is why when we went to the 51st conference, which was in Stellenbosch, one of the resolutions was about the development of a cadre. And I know that in the organization we use the word cadre and member as referring to one and the same meaning. But there is a distinction between a member and a cadre. And perhaps to that end, let me just quote what Oliver Tambo said about the cadre. In 1985, Comrade Howard Tambo said, "The strength of any organization lies in the caliber of its individual members and units. In order to advance in keeping with the momentum of our struggle, we must improve the quality and expand the quantity of our membership. We need cadres of unquestionable loyalty, dedication, and understanding of the struggle. close quote. That's Oliver Tambo in 1985. Now, I just want to perhaps spend a minute or so just to illustrate the distinction between a member and a cadre. In simple terms, a cadre is like a frame that we use to preserve photographs, posters, and so on. Because if you keep a photograph unframed, and it's there among other documents in the drawers and so on, over time, the corners bend and break. So a frame preserves and keeps the photo or poster in shape over a considerable period of years. And that is why since, if you go to your great-grandparents' homes, and you'll see a photograph which looks like a painting framed on the wall, taken many generations.
Comrade Steadley, I guess our speaker, he must be muted. Please.
Am I muted? I'm not muted. Maybe someone is muted me.
No,
No,
you are not muted.
we can hear the speaker.
You're not muted. You're not muted.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe that the comrade is unable to hear me. But I was trying to explain that in simple terms, a cadre is someone who keeps the organization in shape, united throughout. Doesn't matter whether the person in question occupies a political of leadership or not. But these are people that the organization can rely on to keep the organization in shape and united throughout. So it means that it takes investment in terms of political education and training and exposure of such members who then qualify to be referred to as cadres, because the organization can rely on them. And the current situation means that we really, they say I'm muted. Betty Makupu says I'm muted.
Comrade President, I can hear you very clearly as the chair of the session. Comrade Betty, please check your systems whether what is happening with it. We can hear Comrade President when he's speaking. He's not muted. Comrade President, continue.
Yeah. So once again, let me just quote from Oliver Tambo on in his explanation of why we need cadres and why cadres matter in revolutionary movements. And I quote, and he says, a distinctive feature of a revolutionary cadre is the high level of discipline, dedication, and courage in carrying out the tasks assigned by the movement, close quote. So a cadre is distinguished by the high level of discipline, dedication, and courage. Now, oftentimes, when we think of discipline, we only think of it in relation to disciplinary procedures and processes. But here we're referring to the discipline of work. When remember, every member has rights and duties. So if you are given duties by the organization and you, each time when it is time to report back on the tasks given to you, you are able to explain why it could not be done. And then the next time, once again, you have long explanations as to why the task has not been performed. So once you do that over time, you become a dead weight in the organization. And comrades like Comrade Derek Wala would say you are a wind bag. You are a bag full of wind because nothing gets done. And this is an important point, comrades, to emphasize that as members, when tasks are given to us, we must perform them and deliver on the tasks given to us. I remember several years ago when Comrade Gwede was the SG of the ANC, he asked me to accompany him to one province and gave me, the invitation on Monday for Sunday. And I agreed, so I accompanied him when we went to this province. And when we got there on a Sunday morning, the secretary of the province told us that the PEC met on Friday and took a decision that they actually don't have a report, organizational report to present to the SG on that Sunday morning. And so we ended up without an organizational report. Now, I said to Comrade SG at the time that, this is a serious weakness. I've never heard of any Secretary General who comes to a meeting and reports that there is no report because it was short time or too late or some such like excuse. So what I'm trying to emphasize, comrades, is that it is important for members of the ANC to appreciate that without them, there is no organization. And that if you don't perform the tasks given to you, you pull back and fail the rest of the other comrades. So it is important, it must never be you who fail in that regard. That is very, very important. And because Comrade Governor Mbeki would emphasize that, look, there's a distinction between an organization and a movement. And he says, because an organization consists of members who have rights and responsibilities and tasks, and that at all times, because if you take, for instance, if you're in the leadership of an organization and you make an announcement that in 2 weeks' time on a Wednesday, oops. All right. Okay. So if you announce as the leadership of an organization that on such and such a day we are going to have a general members meeting, and people don't turn up, and you end up not cooperating, for instance, it then means that actually you got to think very deeply on how you are going to reactivate these members, remind them and emphasize that once the word is given, they must respond positively to the task. And I think if we look at the renewal, as I said, that we've said many things about the need to renew the ANC. Now, the ANC has structures. And one of the most important structures of the ANC is the branch, because it is strategically located within communities and is expected to stay in dynamic contact with the community where the branch is located. If the branch, is detached from the community, demonstrations and marches will be organized by others, and the branch would not be aware of those kinds of activities. So that diminishes, reduces the standing and prestige of the organization in the eyes of the community. So the branch must always be concerned about the issues which affect the community where it is located. Now, having said that, I just want us to go through the importance of a constitution of the organization. Because the constitution tells us the objectives of the organization, tells us why the organization was established to start with. Because organizations are formed for a purpose. They don't just exist for the sake of existing. And so a constitution is very important. And I want to indicate how we started operating outside of the prescripts of the ANC constitution, and therefore creating corollary problems of ill discipline, of paralysis in terms of the organization. Now, let's go back to the 52nd conference. Let's go back to the 52nd conference. The 51st conference, as I said, resolved that we are now entering the decade of the cadre, and that we were going to build and develop cadres in the organization. At the 52nd, at the end of the 52nd conference of the ANC, one of the things that we said was that we will ensure that we preserve the movement's character, culture, values, and in changing context and new conditions of struggle, and that the central focus of the organizational renewal effort in the run-up to the centenary in 2012. So renewal was always there and emphasized. And that our accumulated weaknesses include inability to effectively deal with new tendencies arising from being a ruling party, such as social distance between ourselves and the people, the problem of patronage, the problem of careerism, problem of corruption and abuse of powers, ineffective management of the interface between the movement and the state, and a flawed approach to membership recruitment, a decline in ideological depth amongst cadres, and a lack of institutional resources to give practical effect to the movement's leadership role. This is what we said at the end of the 52nd conference. Now, having said this, I want to refer to what happened between the 52nd and the 53rd conferences. Okay, maybe I should give years. Yeah, the 51st conference was at Stellenbosch. That was the 51st conference. The 52nd conference was at Polokwane, and the 53rd conference was at Mahlangu, and the 54th conference was at Nazareth. So was the 55th conference. I just want to clarify the signposts there so that we are all together. Now, between the 52nd conference and the 53rd conference, the constitution of the ANC had a rule 12.8 in the constitution at that time. And that rule said the following, and I want to read it so that we are together, comrades. If any provincial chairperson or secretary is elected to the NEC in his or her own right, or as a national official, such person shall vacate the provincial position, provided that the province has the right to make representations to the NEC in a special case where extraordinary circumstances may warrant an exception to this rule. However, when such provincial officer is allowed to retain his or her NEC position, the province shall not be entitled to an additional member on the NEC. Now, at that time, 3 provincial chairpersons were elected in their own right into the National Executive Committee. And in accordance with this rule, those chairpersons were supposed to step down from their positions at provincial level. Now, this rule, comrades, originates from what happened in Natal Midlands when Harry Gwala was the chair of the Natal Midlands and later became a member of the National Executive Committee in his own right. And the rule was then crafted to ensure that he vacates his position at the lower level, which is the regional but later the provincial level. Because it was important to separate the National Executive Committee from the lower structure, the provincial structure. But of course, whereas this rule was adhered to, because it also bars sitting members of the National Executive Committee from going back to contest for leadership position at the provincial level. So the three comrades did not step down from their provincial positions. And so it meant that the leadership knowingly and deliberately breach the provisions of the constitution of the organization.
Not going to stay long. I'm in a meeting now.
Yeah, and then let's move on to the 53rd conference and the 54th conferences. In between those two conferences, the 53rd conference, now let me say the following, comrades. The constitutions of the ANC, I'm sure you have copies of the ANC. The constitution of the ANC, the front page will read as follows: as amended and adopted by the 51st conference or the 52nd conference. Okay? So when you go to the 53rd conference, the constitution that is operational and in effect is the one that would say in its outcover, as amended and adopted by the 52nd conference. Okay? So, when we go to the 53rd conference, the constitution on its cover says, as amended and adopted by the 52nd conference. Now, there's a rule that I want to refer to, specifically in this regard. That rule in the ANC Constitution, which served at the 53rd conference, is Rule 25, and I want you to take it down. It's Rule 25.5, and the sections, it has subsections from A up to U, okay? But the subsections of interest to us here and now are subsection R, subsection S, subsection T, and subsection U. And I want to read them out to you now from that constitution. Okay, just give me a minute, comrades. Rule 25.5. It reads as follows, comrades. The following conduct by a member or public representative shall constitute misconduct in respect of which disciplinary proceedings may be invoked and instituted against him or her. Now, I said the subsections of interest here are subsection R, S, T, U. So subsection R says, payment of or assisting or facilitating the payment of membership subscription of the organization for a person or persons or a group of persons who would otherwise be unwilling or unable to pay their own subscriptions. Subsection S says, offering a reduced rate membership to those known by the individual or group making the offer to be ineligible for that category of membership. T says, recruitment of members who do not reside at an address claimed, where this is done in order to manipulate branch meetings or the outcome of organizational votes. And U says, giving, collecting, or raising of funds for campaigning activities within the ANC aimed at influencing the outcome of a conference or meeting. That's what these sections of Rule 25.5 says. Now, the ANC Constitution stipulates how it is to be amended. And it says proposed amendments must be submitted to the Secretary General at least 3 months ahead of conference. That is why when you get to conference and you are given official documentation for conference as a delegate, you also receive a document which contains proposed amendments because they would have been submitted 3 months ahead of conference. And so because of that, you are able to check at conference, as conference is now dealing with the amendment, as to whether all the proposed amendments go through, and if there are they are adopted and amended, then they will be integrated into the new constitution. Okay, so the constitution, which says, as amended and adopted by the 53rd National Conference in Mangaung in 2012, which is the constitution which served at Nasrec in 2017, no longer has this rule, these subsections I've alluded to. The ones which deal with money. Remember, subsection R, prohibits, says it's an offense to create bogus membership. In other words, if you take the IEC voters roll and you take those names down and you pay membership for them, and you say these are our members, when in fact they are not your members. But of course, it boosts your total membership. And if you also create more branches than the wards, it also qualifies you for a higher size of delegates to conference. So, between the 53rd conference and the 54th conference, Rule 25.5 subsection RSTU disappeared. They were not amended by the 53rd conference. But in the constitution which served to convene the 54th conference, that rule is no longer there. It's deleted. Now, the ANC Constitution, as I said, stipulates how it is to be amended. And because it was not there, it was deleted. It means the conference was convened on the basis of a mutilated constitution. And we have to ask the question, was this a mistake or not? If it was a mistake, how did we deal with it? So, because there's a way in which we deal with mistakes. When leadership identifies a mistake, it takes the following steps. The first step is to openly acknowledge that a mistake is being committed. And second one is to disclose the reasons for such a mistake to have happened, and then analyze the conditions which gave rise to it. That's how a serious organization deals with mistakes. My own reading of what this actually means is that it was not a mistake. I'm saying this because it means that this rule was seen as and read and interpreted as an impediment to what was intended to happen. Now, I'm sure you are all concerned about the fact that money is said to be the main problem in the ANC. But the rule which actually made that an offense was deleted from the constitution of the ANC. What that means is that you then had at the 54th conference of the ANC bogus credentials, bogus members figures, which it were meant to influence the outcomes of that conference. Just to give you an example, one province had as its total membership at that conference 157,000. And on the strength of that, including the number of branches which were far more than the wards in the province, that province had a higher delegation, a bigger delegation. And then, of course, 3 months later, remember that 54th conference was held in December. By beginning of April, when the said province held its own conference, the membership, total membership, was 75,000. So 80,000 that was there at conference in December disappeared because they were never there. They were bogus. And so I'm citing this, comrades, against the backdrop of what we said we would do to renew the organization. But in practice, this is what we did. And so I have a quote here to share with you from Bloke Mudisani in his book entitled "Blame Me on History." He says the following, and I quote him: "But I sometimes think it is important to examine what people do about the things they say, rather than what they say about what they more often than not do not do. So if you say one thing and act differently, you create a credibility gap. And if there's a credibility gap, people don't believe what you say, then of course, you can't lead society. You can't mobilize society. Because actually, once people don't believe what you say, it's like you basically what I'm saying is you can't rely on untruths. Untruths are not a weapon to advance a revolution. A revolutionary movement, a serious revolutionary movement, would not find the need to resort to lies. It will always say what it means and mean what it says, which is the truth. Because every science, including the science of revolution, is verified by experience, practice. So if we don't practice what we say, then of course the renewal will not happen in our lifetime. But you see, as revolutionaries, we have to be selfless and truthful. As revolutionaries, we got to know how to wait. Because if you don't know how to wait, you then end up despairing. And if you despair, you will go and form your own organization and carry on like that. When you meet difficulties, you leave because you are driven by despair. But revolutionaries never despair. That is why, you know, Engels once wrote that himself and Marx were always in the minority. That, you know, each time the revolution is defeated, they ended up in being isolated and in a minority. But they never despaired, because revolutionaries know how to wait. I don't mean waiting by sitting on our arms. You do organizational work to the best of your ability all the time. You perform the tasks given to you all the time without despairing. Now, comrades, how must a renewed ANC look like? A renewed ANC must be believable. A renewed ANC must be with the people, in the midst of the people, work with the people. That's what the renewed ANC must look like. One of the common phrases found in the ANC Constitution says it is an offense for anyone to bring the organization into disrepute. Now, if you understand the meaning of that phrase of bringing the organization into disrepute. Comrades, it looks like we are in trouble.
Comrade Bonga,
Can you still hear me?
we can hear you, Comrade President.
Yes,
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, so I was saying, comrades, that we want an ANC, a renewed ANC, to be based on its constitution and made up of members who are loyal to its constitution. That's what we are hoping for. The ANC, which makes flowery commitments, but breaches them in practice, knowingly so and deliberately so, is not a renewed ANC. And there's no point in deluding ourselves that that would be a renewed ANC. But as I said, in spite of all those difficulties, we must never despair, because we know how to wait. And we must continue to strive for a renewed ANC. Even if we are in a minority, that shouldn't lead us to despair. Because those who despair give up. And that's not what a renewed ANC needs. So let me conclude, comrades, with the following. We must build structures. We must recruit members based on the understanding that we are not recruiting them into a faction, because oftentimes comrades are used to factionalist approach to an extent where they think their faction is the good faction and there are bad factions. Theirs is a good faction. You can't locate yourself in a faction and hope to be a cadre who keeps the ANC in shape. You must be in the ANC all the time. And being in the ANC means you understand its constitution, its objects, as well as its principles, values, and mores. And you live by that. Because you see, comrades, in any organization, I mean, if you see in the middle of proceedings, people clinging to their constitutions, you must know that that organization is in trouble, because you're supposed to internalize the constitution, to live by it, and do everything guided by it. But if it stays in the back, and when there's an issue that you don't quite understand, you then pull it out, it means that organization is in trouble. You have to internalize the constitution and live by them and adhere to them. Because if you are eclectic about it, in other words, you choose moments and times when the constitution matters, and on other times it doesn't matter. You take leave of its, prescriptions, then there will be no consistency in the organization. there will be no consistency. That also, and I think before I conclude, I mean, I want to deal with what the constitution of the ANC says about conference. We all know, we all agree that the national conference is the highest decision-making structure in the ANC. But oftentimes, we actually don't think and act as though we understand that a national conference is a structure, which means once delegates convene and conference credentials are adopted, that conference is a structure, no different from the National Executive Committee or the regional or provincial executive committees. It's a structure. It's not just a gathering or a summit. It's a structure and has to function as a structure, which means delegates that attend have a clear understanding that they represent those members who, due to either size of venue or other reasons, are unable to attend. And that is why they delegate their right of participation to those they elect. So we can't have a national conference which gets convened without the agenda items having been discussed by the structures. So preparations for a conference, a national conference, must begin 6 months ahead of conference. That is why the policy conference is held 6 months ahead of conference, where there's no elections, but you hammer out debate and hammer out policy in the form of draft resolutions that are to be considered and adopted by the elective conference. And so delegates, if you have a conference consisting of delegates who don't know why they are there, then of course that conference would be a failure. Its outcomes will reflect the fact that there were no preparations leading up to that conference. But if our preparations begin and end with construction of slates, then of course there will be no conference. The conference will only be interested in which slate makes it to the leadership positions. That's not how the ANC constitution directs us to prepare for conferences. You will not find any reference to a slate in the ANC constitution. Because you see, if we go with this culture of slates, it's a form of corruption because we take away the right of members to elect the team that they believe will be able to take the organization forward. And that is determined by other considerations. And so the organization will become weaker and weaker and weaker. But as I said, we don't despair. And we have to build solid branches which would understand that once the dates of conference are adopted by the National Executive Committee, the branches must demand to know the program, what items, other than the amendments to the Constitution, but flowing out of the policy conference. What does the program of conference look like, so that they ensure that the people they are going to elect to represent them at that conference are people who are well equipped in terms of their views with regards to the items that are going to serve at conference. If we don't work like that, comrades, our conferences will be a joke. They will be a joke. Because, resolutions are a matter of, if we resolve and craft on the basis of English, then there are people who are creative writers. They can write these resolutions, which sound wonderful, and no one believes in them, and no one is committed to give effect to them or implement them. So that's what I think, must guard against. And to renew the organization, the branches can do that by preparing themselves and ensuring that they function and are properly constituted, and they function optimally as, the strategic link with the community where they are located. And then you see, we will, that way, we will be able to hold or select and elect the correct people to represent us, who will be upright, who will not bring the organization into disrepute. Because right now, every investigation, and each time there's people fingered for wrongdoing, they happen to come from the African National Congress. And so the African National Congress prestige and standing suffers on an ongoing basis. And we must, I think, do our work in such a manner that we are able to sustain the standing of the organization. Because if we are conscious and we value and we love the organization, we cannot expose the organization to disrepute. We cannot, because you see, we are ANC members. We are known to be ANC members. So you can't say, no, I will behave very well when I'm in meetings, formal meetings. When I leave formal meetings, I'm a free agent. Because then people who know you to be the ANC members conclude that that's how ANC members behave. That's their conduct. That's their character. And so I'm saying this is not something that we must delegate to somebody else. We ourselves, each one of us, must strive to always bring positive values as well as ideas to the organization. Not negative, because negative energy also dispirits people. People become despondent. So as an ANC member, each one of us, wherever we serve, whether we serve in whatever sector of society, always remember that you also represent the organization. And you have, through your conduct and inputs and contributions, the prestige of the organization and the standing of the organization is enhanced by that. Now, I want to leave you with the words of Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping was an important leader in China. He's actually credited with having, changed China, and China is flourishing today precisely of what Deng Xiaoping was able to do. And Deng Xiaoping says the following, comrades, to cadres and members, and I want to leave you with his words. He says, the tasks in a nutshell, remember we spoke about tasks, that the member has rights and tasks. So he says the tasks in a nutshell are just two. Serve the people wholeheartedly and put the interests of the people first in doing everything, full stop. That's what Deng Xiaoping says. Then Comrade Professor Keorapetse Kgositsile Rawili, in his anthology entitled If I Could Sing, and he says, and to the memory of Baba Mabida, Tate Mashiru, Tata OR, Comrade Chope, and Chris Hani, may your eye condemn us till the end of time if we ever betray our mission, full stop. So, if ever we are tempted to betray the mission of the organization, know that these ancestors will condemn you. Till the end of time. And let me stop there, comrades. Perhaps we may have an interactive session. You may want to comment or ask questions. But I thought it is important for me just to ground our commitment and call for renewal in our reality. Thank you, Comrade Chair.
Thanks, Comrade President, for such a great presentation. Equally, having listened to you, I then begin to recall perhaps one statement, whether should we really not expel anyone and therefore rejoin again the movement? Because you quoted a statement, I'm going to quote you, say, if we don't practice what we say, then renewal will not happen in our lifetime. It's a very scary statement. Perhaps maybe I will then allow this moment for clarity-seeking question, but equally before that, let me acknowledge the presence I see here, the presence of Comrade Tenjiwe Mtinso. You are welcome. Comrade Balega Mpete, the former Speaker of Parliament, you are welcome here. And those perhaps I'm not able to recognize, you are equally welcome, comrades. But let's then begin. Comrade Bonga, you will equally assist me in this session, and also Comrade Katie. Comrade Samson, can you please mute or will they remove you? We don't need that distraction, comrades. Now, let's open this session for comrades for clarity-seeking questions and also the discussion comments. Mara, what is very important that I must emphasize, let's share the time. Please, comrade, you can't spend more than 3 minutes. if you are making a comment. And if you're asking a question, I think 30 to 45 seconds, it's enough for you to ask, so that we allow other comrades equal to ask, to have opportunity to ask questions, because we don't have the whole day, the whole night here. We have a limited time in our own schedules. Thank you, Comrade President, for the presentation. It's great. And therefore, let's now engage. Comrades, I see the hand. I see Comrade Kgalema, the first one. Comrade Bonga, you'll assist me.
Comrade
Who are speaking here? Who's speaking now? Can I finish talking now? Comrade Kgalema, is it Comrade Bonga?
Yes, it's me. I was gonna say there's Kaunda, there's Kgalema, and there's veteran Comrade Nabatutu. Those are the three hands that I can see.
Okay.
Comrade Clayson, yes.
And Comrade Clayson, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 hands at this moment. Now we start with the Comrade Kgalema, then Kaunda, Nyabela, and Clayson Munyela. Comrades, let's engage, and please let's stay within the parameters in terms of the time, as I've indicated. Let's now engage. Comrade Kgalema, start.
Thank you, Comrade Chair, and thank you, Comrade President, for the education that you are giving us. Mkhabulo. My question, I've got two questions. The first one is that as branches, as members of the ANC, we talk about renewal, but we don't focus also on the structural renewal of the organization in terms of our branches. What Comrade Stan had quoted Comrade President you saying is that you must look at how maybe dissolve our membership and rejoin. Is it possible or would it be wise for us to even limit the number of members that we have in branches? Because we have a lot of members, we have branches with 1,000 membership, but the quality of comrades that we were attracting, it leaves a lot to be desired, and it opens up infiltration from outside forces into this organization of ours. That's the first question. The second question is it's around the leadership that we have at NEC level. You know, some of us are still young. When we were growing up, we used to look with admiration at the quality of comrades that we had at the NEC level. The debates, even if you go to the clips and Mkhabulo that you would read, you would see where content that was driving the organization. Currently, or recently, we have comrades of ours who are at the highest of the organization, being the ones who are involved in factionalism, comrades who don't uphold the constitution that they are custodians of, which they are the ones that are supposed to guide the movement during the conferences to say, comrades, position of the ANC when it comes to Palestine is this. This is how we approach it. The position of the ANC when it comes to foreigners, this is how we approach it. Guide the organization so that the organization can really be the salt of the earth, can be a leader of society. We are failing in that. How do we change the election of leadership to give us quality leadership who really have the interest of the organization at heart? Thank you, Comrade Chair.
Okay, Comrade Kaunda.
Thank you, Comrade Chairperson. Let me also take this time to welcome the submission made by Comrade President Kgalema Motlanthe. Mine will be a question, Comrade Chair. Although I'm not going to take a broom and sweep everybody into a dustbin. Comrade President, your submission revolves mainly around the political issue of a membership that lacks discipline. And it looks like you presented it in a format that we have a total failure to implement policy, and the Constitution in particular, as you quoted it. And in that context, Comrade President, one would like to ask a question, to say, as we have identified that there is a general lack of policy implementation from the branches, the regions, the provinces, and the membership in general, what is that we need to do? I understand that we're working on the question of the renewal of the organization, but will we succeed without amending the Constitution to be dictatorial to its membership and its leadership? Thank you very much, Comrade Chairperson. Those will be my questions.
Okay, Comrade Tutu. Comrade Tutu.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. First of all, let me also welcome the thought-provoking presentation by Comrade Motlanthe. I've got just some comments and then maybe one or two questions. My analysis is that the ANC doesn't focus on the skills of its members. Anyone who can make a lot of noise, he can be taken to leadership position, and at the end, it will end up in a mess. In terms of skills, let's say, for example, comrades are deployed to council, legislature, or parliament. Do we have minimum qualifications that one can, we can be sure that he or she will execute his duties there? Also, another issue, wouldn't it be good for branches up to national to do an audit of skills? Because I find that the ANC, there are so many people who have got relevant skills, issues of, let's say, risk management. I'm just making a few. Because the fact that people are corrupt and are going away with it, it means that we've got no mechanism of making sure that we minimize risk in the organization. Another comment is a comment also linked to this one of skills. You know, the Asian giants, when they select leaders, they focus, there's an acronym they use, is MHP or whatever, or MPH, yeah, or yeah. M stands for meritocracy. If you can make sure that those who deploy in whatever level, they have got the relevant skills, will not be failed. And then H stands for honesty. It will help to eradicate corruption. I'm told that in the Asian giants, if, for example, a minister, making an example, has been with a businessman and then who paid for him lunch and so on, or accommodation, immediately that one is found, is arrested. But why? What is the reason? Or do we do such things as a lifestyle audits? It can help us to eradicate corruption. And then also, maybe in our political education.
Comrade Tutu, you have already exhausted 3 minutes. Can you ask the question?
It's not. I'm saying I'm commenting and asking questions. It's hardly 2 minutes. I've not exhausted 3 minutes.
No. I'm looking at the time. I'm saying you have exhausted it. Can you ask the question now?
I'm saying to you, I said I will comment and ask a question.
Yes, now I want you to ask the question.
I've already asked a question. Maybe you were not listening. Can we also maybe in our portfolio education focus or include Lenin's paper that if fewer but better? We should make sure that we've got quality membership. Thank you very much, Comrade Chair.
Okay, thank you, comrades. Comrade Clayson.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chair. I wanted to greet the leadership that's in the meeting, Comrade President Motlanthe, veterans who are here, Ambassador Mtinso, and former Deputy President Membete. Chair, I wanted to start by appreciating the wisdom of the African National Congress to convene this past weekend a summit, a conference of liberation movements, which I thought was an excellent idea to give all these movements, including the ANC, an opportunity to reflect on the successes, the failures, the challenges, but also the challenges of this moment in our country and our region. And I wanted to invite the view of Comrade President Motlanthe on what do we do to recover lost ground, because the brand of the African National Congress is damaged. We have a crisis of trust now. We've lost the trust of our people, at least a significant number in our society. We meet this when we do door-to-door campaigning. We're going to local government elections. In our ward in particular, we've had occasions where we've been chased out of people's homes because the brand of our movement is damaged. And I want to leave you with this question, Comrade President, that in my view, the biggest question of the hour, not just in South Africa, but in many countries, in Europe and in Latin America, also in North America, it's the crisis of international migration. Of course, there are advantages to it, but in our country in particular, because of the porous borders, our people are experiencing the negative side of it. And I'm saying there are positives. But I worry that the African National Congress doesn't seem to read the room to the effect that we have surrendered the position of being a leader of society. Opportunistic individuals and parties that were started yesterday seem to be getting support precisely because they are speaking to the issue that our people are complaining about. Just wanted to invite your comment on this. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Comrades, these are the names I have at the moment. Therefore, I'll allow the Comrade President Motlanthe to then respond and perhaps also comment where possible. Comrade President.
Oh. Yeah, thank you very much, comrades, for the questions. Well, I have more. I see hands here, Comrade Chair, of Ntutuko and Nikki and Silo.
Perhaps so maybe let me receive your guidance, because we thought this would be the first round.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The other round. Yes.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. The first question from Comrade Carlight, two questions basically. The first one, he raises, it relates to the structures, how the ANC is structured. Now, the ANC currently has the branches located in wards and regions and then provinces and National Executive Committee. And as I said, the highest structure is National Conference. And in the ANC Constitution, the role and functions of these structures are explained. And so his concern is really the quality of members. How do we ensure that, we improve on the quality of the membership? Now, that's a function of how we recruit, who we recruit into the organization, and how we induct them, the pledge that they take when they are received. Because many people would say, meetings are a waste of time. And so, now they can use WhatsApp and stuff like that, which is fine. It's modern, gadgets and modern ways of communicating. Then if you have a membership like that, you are unlikely to have a curating meeting or meetings, because then they are not active, you see. So each member must, to ensure the best quality, members must have tasks, not just rights, but tasks as well. So that they are active, so that when you meet as a branch, you don't discuss ngesXhosa. You discuss concrete issues that affect the community, that you, in your interaction as members with the community, that's the feedback you got. So you discuss concrete issues. But if we meet and we come back and we deal with matters arising, and then the next time we deal with matters arising from matters arising, and the next time matters arising from matters arising, without ever discussing concrete issues that affect communities where we are located. Of course, some will retreat out of sheer boredom. Others will retreat because they see no value in such meetings. So that's a very important point, that the membership must be an active membership. The size, I mean, that's spelled out in the constitution of the ANC. So if the and of course, let me share with you, when in the early days of the PWV region, our biggest branch was the Katlehong branch, led by the late Med Betha Gowa. It had 15,000 members, 15,000. And they had data. Whenever they submitted membership fees, they also submitted their printout of the membership. And Os IV was the one keeping the records of that branch on computer. So it was a sophisticated branch, 15,000. And so to limit the size, I mean, it's possible if you have an active branch. You know that the size of the branch is small, but however, the entire community is behind that branch. That's what I would say with regards to that. The NEC gets elected by, as I said, the highest structure, which is National Conference. And to improve on the caliber of the members that you elect, let's perhaps look at the history. You know, in the olden days before the ANC was banned, you couldn't possibly be elected onto the National Executive Committee of the ANC if you weren't already a leader of a section of the community and so on. Basically, you had to be known for your leadership qualities for you to make it onto the National Executive Committee. But that's history. At the moment, you have slates. You have slates. And you have money. This is part of, I mean, you know, I serve on the electoral committee of the ANC. And part of our tasks was to, on the basis of rules adopted by the National Executive Committee, disqualify some people from availing themselves onto the National Executive Committee. But if you attended the 55th conference, you will know that that conference took 8.5 hours discussing the need to reinstate onto the list of nominees people that had been disqualified in accordance with the ANC's resolutions. And conference is the highest decision-making structure, put them back on the list and elected them. And of course, they are not necessarily of poor quality. I won't venture into that. But the reality is that if you adopt rules and you don't live by them, you create problems for the organization. And if the highest decision-making structure does that, then of course, we have to live with that. Because, you know, we get the leadership we deserve. Okay, Comrade Nyabela, the skills audit and the, I must tell you that the nominees to parliament and legislatures are interviewed. And the purpose of the interview in the main is to try and get them to understand the importance of the oath they take to become MPs and members of the legislatures. Because, you know, the ANC constitution is silent on how it relates to the constitution of the republic. It only directs members of legislatures to establish a caucus, and that the decisions of a caucus are binding on members. Now, if you are a member and you take an oath to pledge allegiance to the republic, and the constitution and the law of the republic, you can't treat that oath or affirmation as fiction. And that, you know, it can be superseded by what the regional secretary or provincial secretary or the national secretary says to you in your caucus. If what you are directed to do goes against the oath you've taken, you must be able to raise that, because the role of caucus is to debate issues and arrive at a clear position. But the position can't be knowingly against the oath or the provisions of the Constitution of the Republic. If that happens, of course, you bring the ANC into disrepute. If that happens, it means other parties will show you out, call you out, that you are actually acting against and outside of the Constitution. You see, so that's what the interviews aim to help comrades to understand, and that the leadership of the organization can't say simply because they are leaders give you an unlawful instruction. And qualifications, of course, the qualifications of the members, public representatives of the ANC have improved. Most of them are highly qualified. It is the political understanding and attitude which, needs to be strengthened. That way, we will be able to minimize the risk. And of course, Comrade Nyabela, you are correct. I mean, meritocracy is what we should base our selection on. Honesty, that's what we should base our selection on. Now, lifestyle audits, Comrade Nyabela. I always caution comrades when they mention lifestyle audits, because you see, lifestyle audits, correctly speaking, are conducted by SARS. It is only SARS that has the capability to conduct lifestyle audits, because SARS can get into the accounts, bank accounts, and watch movements. Only SARS can say, Comrade Nyabela earns so much per month, and the entire take home is sorted away in a bank. And SARS would say, however, this is how Comrade Nyabela lives, the quality of his life. So where does the resources come from? And so lifestyle audits can, in the majority of cases, leads to what is called unexplained wealth. And in other countries, they actually have a law called Unexplained Wealth Act. And if the revenue office is not clear as to where the wealth comes from, they just, hold it quietly. They don't call press conferences. They hold it quietly and they ask you, please explain to us where this wealth comes from. And if you are unable to explain, it's impounded. So lifestyle audit is a very serious matter. I'm just saying that when we think of it, we must always remember that the body qualified and authorized to conduct lifestyle audits is SARS. Well, I don't know. You see, the ANC is an omnibus, it's a mass organization. So the Lenin's injunction of fewer but better fewer would not necessarily apply to a mass organization. It in the main applies to an organization that takes itself seriously as leader of society. If the ANC wants to retain that standing and prestige, it then has the duty and responsibility of ensuring that the caliber of its members and cadres is of a high standard, and also that there are consequences for wrongdoing. There's consequence management. You see, the Chinese Communist Party has a membership of 89 million. And they lead a population of 1.3 billion. And if you are in the Communist Party and you are caught lining your pockets, an example is set by executing you. Now, you know, we are a smaller population of 62 million, so we don't execute people, you know, because, you know, the right to life matters. But that's what the Communist Party of China does. They set an example. Comrade Clayson, I think the Summit of Liberation Movements was timely and called for because it's an opportunity to compare notes and share perspectives. And you know, you learn from each other. The mistakes that, you know, were committed by others and the lessons drawn out of that are shared. So that's, I think, was a timely convocation. Now, the brand of the ANC, as you say, has been damaged on an ongoing basis, a continuous basis. And basically, if we suffer from the effects of climate change, if we were to have floods or drought, severe drought, the ANC would be blamed for that as well. That's how bad the situation is. But to turn that around, it means that the ANC members who are public representatives, who are office bearers, who are in cabinet and bear certain responsibilities, must act correctly all the time and strive to be open, you know, with the people. That's what will restore the trust. That's what will restore the brand of the ANC. The issue of migration is as old as human beings. If you understand that, you know, the cradle of humanity is here in South Africa, and therefore people migrated to other parts of the world. So migration is always being with us. South Africa, that's why South Africa is a microcosm of the United Nations. We have people from all over the world. How we manage, you know, our ports of entry is very key to this effect. And of course, there are other, you know, issues closer to home, that you have the Union of South Africa and the Customs Union. And basically, if you remember that the geographic space that we call South Africa today, the Republic of South Africa, only happened in 1910. And what if you take Botswana, for instance, what we call Botswana today was actually northern Bechuanaland. The southern Bechuanaland is Northwest and Northern Cape. In fact, the Bechuanaland then was governed by a governor whose offices were in Mafikeng. And so that's why there are more Botswanas in South Africa than in Botswana. The same applies to Lesotho. The same applies to Eswatini. But with Lesotho, I mean, it's, you know, completely in the belly of South Africa. And at some point, you know, it's destabilized because the military generals there will not go to war anyway. And so they end up being attached to politicians. And so Lesotho becomes unstable as a result. It may be an idea, you know, to integrate our home affairs with the home affairs in Lesotho, so that official documentation comes out of the same office and the data is available to the law enforcers in both countries, so that there should be no instance where a Mosotho is said to be undocumented, because the data would be the same data. So it doesn't matter if a Mosotho is a Zamazama, the fingerprints will say who he is and so on, and it can be found within minimum time. Of course, that's a discussion that can take place at the highest level between the two countries. But I was just saying the issue of migration is really about border control first and foremost. Secondly, that because, you know, let me tell you, prohibition always creates a black market. So if in spite of, you know, tightening up our border controls, we also say anyone who happens to find themselves inside this country must report to an office and say why they are here. Then we'll have fewer so-called undocumented people. And that must apply across the board, because, you know, part of the problem is that it also has eyes for color. And that is why I think the ANC really should pay attention to this issue of migration and work out how we're going to address it without simply saying amakwerekwere or whatever, because, you know, South Africa, in a sense, is a cosmopolitan, you know, metropolis. That's who we are. That's why when we were hosting the FIFA World Cup, we had all these teams having support of their own nationals who are South Africans, yeah, because we're a microcosm of the United Nations. Now, Comrade Kaunda, implementation is the key. As I said, even the science of revolution is tested through experience. It is practice which you know, tests the theory. Every theory is tested through practice. And if we don't implement, then of course, you know, we'll be faulted for maintaining policies that do not work. You see, it's important. Policy must always be tested in practice. If it doesn't work, you improve it, you amend it, or you discard it and adopt a new policy. But implementation and practice are key to giving effect to any theory. So I think we should not despair. I think we can succeed to renew the ANC. If the constitution needs to be amended here and there, that should happen. But what I was alluding to in my input earlier on is not it's a deletion, and a deletion in legal terms is a nullity, so it didn't happen. And if it didn't happen, the easiest thing is really for the leadership to reinstate that rule in the constitution, and or print an errata and distribute them to the membership so that the membership know that this is in place. Otherwise, the longer it takes, the more it creates problems for the organization. Everywhere, the members would be, concerned about the use of money and that members are being bought and so on. Now, if you're an organization and your members are for sale, they can be bought, not only by people who contest in positions, but other forces can buy them. People with deeper pockets can buy the entire organization. So you don't want your members to be for sale. You want your members to be guided by their consciences and be loyal to the values and ethics of the organization at all times. Thank you very much. I think that was those are the questions that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Comrade President, thanks for the responding of that. Perhaps maybe without wasting any time, there is names which are here, so let's just take those names. That will be the last session of questions. Ntutuko, Nikki, I see Silo Shai there.
Shai, yes.
Tato Mahorodi, Enza Makanya, Lennox Plus. Comrade KG, am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct, leader. Those are the last six hands.
Yeah, because we took 4 before, now we're taking 6.
Yes.
I also see Comrade Bud as far, and will accommodate him. Now, comrades, let's go in that order. Comrade Ntutu Goshai.
Thank you, Comrade Chair, to Tugoma Combat here.
Yeah, let's share the time, leader. I'm sorry for interruption. Let's share the time as I've indicated. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks to Comrade President for very insightful inputs and very thought-provoking inputs. President, just on a point that you've already also mentioned now in your responses, when you are speaking about this issue of the Constitution, and you also spoke about National Conference being a structure. My thoughts quickly went to the 2022 National Conference, specifically on the issue you're talking about, where we had set specific rules leading up to conference, and conference being that highest decision-making structure took some decisions, obviously, to upset those rules that we had already set at the floor of conference. And I think, in as much as I agree completely that the National Conference is the highest decision-making body and is a structure, but conference itself is also bound by the Constitution. And that is why we have a process that predates the conference by at least, I think, 3-6 months to start the process of amending the Constitution. Because you need to have, even if you are sitting as National Conference, the Constitution and those rules that also govern how the conference would conduct itself. Because if we go on this, and which what we saw in the last conference, notion that as a highest decision-making body, therefore we can tear apart everything, all rule books, then it also creates some level of chaos. And that national conference, as you say, was delayed for about 8 hours, literally discussing individuals, and that took away from the conference dealing with substance. So it goes to this whole point about us as an organization having reached a point where we don't respect the integrity of our own constitution and our own processes and our own decisions, and that's a big challenge. But maybe just as a last point, maybe you, Comrade President, you could also maybe reflect on maybe what lessons can we learn, for instance, on renewal from some of, in the first instance, the liberation movements in the continent who are sister organizations and what they have done, both on the positive and the negative side, but also generally, what experiences can we learn in terms of where we find ourselves globally in terms of what we would need to look at as we renew the organization, maybe to be able to take inspiration from other places and other movements and other countries. I think you already started to mention what was happening in China, but maybe you could also expand on some of those. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, good evening, leadership. Yeah, good evening, leadership, Chair. Let me also acknowledge PEC member from Northwest, because I'm from Northwest, Basana Danki, Mkulua. Yeah, my question was basing on three questions that I wanted to raise on CADA. What kind of cadres has the ANC developed over time? But as currently, as we observe, much of our comrades has been diluted. But cadres who are still standing, they are undermined. They are even undermined by the current ANC of today. So that is much. The question that I wanted to ask was based on the constitution, as Mkulua mentioned, Rule 25.5. He addressed part of it, but much as he said it was mutilated, it was removed. I think that section must return because it was chaos on our last conference. So best can it be, like he correctly said, it can be distributed by an errata, so that when we go to the next conference, those sections or those subsections are in place, so that we don't see what we observed on our last conference. So that was the part that I just wanted to register as a question. Maybe Mkulu maybe expand as to what can be the remedy or sought relief in addressing the challenges that we had. Membership, some provinces come with 1,700 delegates. I mean, it can't be correct. No, thanks.
Okay, Comrade Solo Shai.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good evening. Let me firstly welcome the address by the former Deputy President of the ANC, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe. In fact, he has given us the RDP of the soul. I only have one question, and I will then comment on what needs to be done, particularly on making sure that we realize functioning branches of the ANC. Chair, my question to Comrade Kgalema is that the high level of apathy demonstrated by our members and the citizenry in general might have prompted him previously or some years ago when he said or made a painful comment that the ANC must lose elections so that we can self-introspect. And we misinterpreted his comment. We made different comments. We'll also be glad if Comrade Kgalema can emphasize or give us clarity on that particular question. And I'm not trying to create a kangaroo court here, but it's just a clarity seeking question. Because that occasion, I believe, of losing election might delay the NDR to speedily arrive at the distinct point of a national democratic revolution. Because I believe we can only transform this previously disadvantaged society through the state, like the Afrikaners and their the Afrikaners, what they did to the constituency. As I underline my clarity seeking question, let me make an input here in terms of what need to be done. Renewal cannot just be a talk show, but I think if we, as members of the ANC and leaders of branches and structures of the ANC across, if we really need to realize a functioning branch, we have to have updated census records of our populace within the demarcation of the ward, of youth, women, LGBTQIAs plus, and persons living with disability. We must also have a stakeholder of social, cultural, religious, and trade unions, professional skills audit data, and various political organizations, so that we must also have in our custody a list of graduates, learners who are seeking bursaries and scholarships, indigenous families, child-headed households, victim empowerment centers, orphanage, safe houses, the unemployed, and businesses, as well as data of who want to start business. Because the issue of discussing Karl Marx and Lenin and whatever ideologies in our branches, while our communities are faced with difficulties beyond their command. And I want to agree with Comrade Munyela that the ANC must start being relevant. We cannot operate like the ANC of 1994. We have attained our freedom, but we still don't have economic power. And we're confronted with these problems because of number of issues that we don't want to bore or waste time in this particular platform because we don't have time. But I think if we can deal with that particular situation where we are able to define what is a functional, what is a branch of the ANC in good standing, then we will be able to deal with these particular matters and make sure that criminals, Comrade Tsotsis and Mickey Mouse opportunist political organization which have occupied the space of the ANC are removed. Comrades are sleeping on duty. A call to wrap up a branch of the ANC with a cotton wool is now or never. We need to change the strategy. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Comrade Tato.
So good evening, comrades. Thank you very much, Comrade Chair. Let me join the choir of those who made inputs to thank Comrade Mkulua for his insightful provocations. I am going to make an observation, and then from there, conscript myself to one question. So the observation I want to make, Comrade Chair, based on the presentation of Comrade Kgalema, is arising specifically from the quotation he made from a stanza in a poem by Brawili. And I want to paraphrase that quotation to create path for my comment, where he says that if ever we intend to betray the mission, the eyes of our forebears, which he mentioned, must condemn us. I'm saying that, I'm paraphrasing it. I think that Comrade Mkulua, the mission has already been betrayed. And if you ask me why, without getting into granular details, the first point of evidence is that the NDR is no longer on track, in my view. And one day when we have time, we can get into the granular details of looking at the strategic objectives of the NDR and making that assessment scientifically. But I've come to the conclusion that it is no longer on track. The second reason why I think this mission has been betrayed is that the renewal project has failed. We've been talking about it for years now, but nothing is really coming into real fruition, particularly its believability in the eyes of our people, which you have confirmed in your presentation. And this is happening primarily because those who are compromised in society are the ones in charge of the renewal project. And therefore, in my view, I think the renewal project is a stillborn. It's a stillborn baby. And from where I'm sitting, I think the ANC is at its lowest ebb and therefore in a desperate political situation in the country. And desperate measures calls for desperate times calls for desperate measures, as the cliche says. Now, in my view, to answer the question, what measures should we think about as answering the question, what is to be done? I think we need a package of solutions, key to which, in my view, must be that we need to consider very seriously disbanding all the structures that exist because they are failing in their mission to assist us to get out of the doldrums of self-destruction that we're in. Appoint an entity of elders, which may include yourselves, Bo Comrade Baleka, Bo Comrade Tenji, Bo Comrade Tabo, and all of that. Just the 10 elders who must now be in charge of assisting us in terms of directing those in government to govern properly, with punitive measures where they go wrong, but importantly, in terms of organizational renewal internally, to prosecute the project of bringing back the NDR on track. Importantly, look at issues of firing all members. You know, with the point that Comrade Sasa was raising and did not elevate it. Firing all members and getting a platform where everybody must now apply for their membership of the ANC, so that we are able to admit only people who don't associate themselves with all these bad deeds that society that no longer trusts the ANC for. And having done that, then we can then call a national consultative conference of real ANC activists who are committed to the strategic objectives of the National Democratic Revolution to chart the way forward in terms of bringing the ANC back to its factory settings. And the question I have, Comrade Kgalema, is based on your assessment that we must not be scared to be in the minority. I agree with Comrade Sillo from a different angle. That for us to be able to prosecute the NDR, the state is an important tool, in as much as the liberation movement is an important tool. That dialectical link between the state and the liberation movement. So I'm saying this assertion that you're making, Comrade Nkulua, may be read as saying that we must not be scared to be outside government. And if we are correct, I worry about that because the ANC must, at all material times, be capacitated as a revolutionary weapon at the disposal of the primary motive forces to prosecute the liberation struggle. And to do that, they must have the necessary numbers and the necessary power to be able to do that. So it is important that perhaps you must engage us more on this thought process of not being scared to be in the minority, because in my view, a minority position is a position of dislocation. That's why people would then be migrating to other organizations to go and test whether those can be better revolutionary instruments to assist them to prosecute what they believe is a revolution outside the ANC, which in their view would have failed. Thank you very much.
Comrade Zama Kanya.
Thank you, leadership. I would like to stand on the established protocol, Comrade Mkhulua.
Chair, it's not myself.
Sorry?
Chair.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's not myself.
Zama Kanya now.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Chairperson. And also, I would like to greet on our leadership that is in attendance, Ambassador Mtinzo and Me Balegambete. I would like to shadow my comrade Clayson when he give applause on the conference that we have just witnessed taking place for the first time, Comrade Mkhulua. We yet to perhaps if ANC would eventually share the outcome of the conference as to what was the thorny issues that were actually attended to at the conference. Also, the issue of the brand of ANC, it's very critical. We are in a dilemma. We are scared even to wear our T-shirts now because of the impression people have about our organization. Also, let me just go back to the policies of our organization, particularly our foreign policy, Mkhulua. It's so shallow from what we used to know. And I wonder if the conference has touched on the issue of this regional integration at SADC level. We saw some countries now currently, they're very aggressive on their economic inclination. For instance, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, they are building a forefront. But you ask yourself, where is South Africa in this setup? Because we know that South Africa used to be called a hegemonious country and a pivotal country where we used to extend our assistance to everyone throughout Africa. But in the neighborhood, where are we? It seems as if we are fading off. And what is the position of our foreign policy? Because we have prioritized economic development inside the country. But what are we doing in terms of the foreign policy outside the country, particularly here, where we have problems of this immigration and all that? Coming back home, Comrade Mkhulua, these days we run branches from WhatsApp, and it's very worrisome. And I doubt if the leadership at Luthuli House have not heard about these issues. But it seems as if they are not attended to as a matter of agency. Because if at all we are having branches that are limping and leadership is very far from us, not so long ago, we are going for local government elections. And I am worried that we might not be able to reap our desire at local government level. Also, the leadership that would tend to have at branch level, as councillors, I think there's a serious issue. No one trusts them. It seems as if there isn't anything that is, acknowledged in terms of their work at local level. And the community, it seems as if they've absorbed that, if it's ANC that is in charge, nothing will happen. And what is it that you are doing with that impression from the communities? Lastly, my point, Comrade Mkhulua, I would like to call this to our leadership, those who are deployed in government. I think enough is enough. Now we are with GNU. But our comrades, they destroy us. They destroy us, not that we come into government without qualification, experience, and all that. These comrades, they don't have a comradeship to understand that, not that we are serving government, but we are part of the family, which is the ANC. I can count, some of them are here, destroyed, and people don't know what to do, you know, because it's issues that are not addressed, whether at NEC level or at branch level, I don't know. But it is my wish and my plea, Comrade Kgalema, that from the agenda at NEC, this must be attended to. I will tell you why. The GNU, when they come into power, they are running government for the first time. Now they looking for people who have skills, they have bins. They collecting all these comrades to work for them. Now tell me, is it possible to serve an opposition party and when you belong to ANC? They win their hearts, they win their families, because these comrades, they've got beautiful stories to tell. Right, and I'm told that from my own research, I'm told that these leaders, they are actually capable in terms of serving government, and the same officials who were out in the cold, now they're talking well about leaders who are not ANC leaders. So what does that mean? We are losing comrades. I would maybe pause their leadership just to save time, but I had more points, but in the interest of time, I will pause there. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, Comrade Lennox.
Chair, it's not myself.
No, it's Comrade Lennox.
It's not Comrade Tato.
No, it's Comrade Lennox.
Okay, so Chair. Okay.
Amandla Chairperson. Amandla to the branch for facilitating this engagement. And allow me to join the rest of the comrades in acknowledging and welcoming President Kgalema's presentation. And two, let me acknowledge as well our two veterans, our former Deputy President, Umamu Baleka, and our ambassador, Umamu Thenjiwe Mtintso. Mine is one question, or it's a comment. Currently, the national discourse in South Africa, supported by the majority of the South Africans and their institutions, that is in the direction to right our wrong, is the proposed national dialogue. Now, my interest is, how do we influence our organization, the African National Congress, probably from bottom up, to facilitate its own dialogue, to discuss the nature of the ANC we want and the kind of leadership we need to guide our ANC out of our current quagmire. I would love really to hear President Kgalema's inputs on this. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Comrade Tato.
Sorry, I'm done. I did not drop my hand. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Now,
let me start by thanking you, Chair.
Comrade, I noted Comrade Mohahodi before. It was only one Tado. Perhaps I need to be guided by other administrators.
No, Comrade Mohahodi has spoken. Remember?
Yes. So now it's Comrade Vusi Buddha.
So it's not myself.
Buddha. No.
Comrade Chair.
Yes.
The last hand on this one is Comrade Vusi Buddha, and then that's what we said we were closing at that hand.
Yes, it's Comrade Vusi Buddha.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Thank you, Comrade Chair.
I think greetings to yourself and Atem Kulua and others that are in this platform. Chair, let me join all other comrades in welcoming the presentation that has been presented by Kulua. Maybe I've got just two clarity-seeking questions because now the discussions that Atem Kulua presented to us is useful for our branch discussion and also for our leadership engagement and also the caucus reflections for those that are deployed in government. Chair, my clarity-seeking question is on the renewal through ideological clarity that Ndatem Kulua has said. Now, my question is, what does Comrade Motlanthe mean when he says that the ANC has drifted ideologically? How should we redefine our ideological grounding? Now, the second question will then be, how does the renewed ANC differentiate itself from populism while remaining a pro-poor? That will be the two questions that I will pose to Ndatem Kulua. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Buddha. Therefore, now let me give Motlanthe to engage. Comrade President.
Oh, it's muted.
Unmute, Comrade President.
Trying to unmute. Okay.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now, comrades.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Now you are.
Comrade Buddha, I want to start with you. So please repeat the second question. Oh, the second question, comrade, is that how does the renewed ANC differentiate itself from populism while remaining pro-poor? Okay. Thank you very much. Let's start with that question. The populism and opportunism always takes advantage of existing opportunities. In other words, if the ANC does not read the room, as Comrade Clayson Munyela said, that failure presents opportunities for opportunists and populists. So a renewed ANC would be one that keeps dynamic contact with the people and says what it means and means what it says, so that there's no credibility gap that arises. And that way, if there are mistakes, it admits its mistakes, acknowledges its mistakes. Then that would eliminate space for populists and opportunists, as it were. That's what a renewed ANC should strive to do and present itself to the populace as well as the electorate. Now, ideologically, the ANC ideology and policies are crafted and adopted in the form of resolutions. Why I say this is because, you know, you may have practices and popular views based on our religious beliefs and all traditions, but they would not necessarily be ANC policies until they are adopted in the form of resolutions at an ANC conference. So that's the basis of the ANC's political outlook. And so if it is, our foreign policy or any other policy position, it would have been debated and discussed and adopted in the form of a resolution. That's how the ANC formulates its world outlook or ideology in simple terms. Now, I'm saying this because let me give you an example, comrades. When we were in prison, so in prison, there's no privacy there. So the showers are open. So you all shower there, young and old and so on. And then they arrived on the island, a group of, about 29 new arrivals. And among them was a comrade who had the gift of the gap. I mean, he could handle any topic under the sun. And this comrade, it turned out that he was not circumcised. And so when he's on the floor and everyone is riveted by his presentations, a comrade who was younger by age then shuts him down by saying, I tula wena kwedini, asinakumamela wena imini yonke apha. And this younger comrade's authority stemmed from the fact that he was circumcised. And that created tensions. So upon realization that, no, this is going to create problems, the older comrades, Comrade Marshall Tinto from Cape Town and Comrade Joe Marty from the Eastern Cape, asked me to convene these comrades. So we go out and sit out in the sports field, and Comrade Tinto addresses this problem as follows. In his course, he says, ndazihamba inkomfa zikakhongolose kusuka ngo-52 akukho nenye esike saya kuyo sathatha i-resolution ngomthondo womntu. Ayiyo policy yombutho lento, ngamasiko kantu. Now, for those of you who don't understand Xhosa, what Comrade Tinto explained was that circumcision is not ANC policy because from his experience, there's not a single conference that he ever attended from 1952 which adopted a resolution on circumcision. And therefore, it is not policy, it is culture of our people, which we must respect. Now, that in very stark terms explained how ANC policy is adopted through resolutions. Now, Comrade Lennox is calling for the ANC to have a national dialogue of its own to look at its weaknesses and how it can address them. Now, I don't know if, because, national dialogue may be in the form of a special conference or in the form of the National General Council or in the form of a policy conference. What perhaps may be important is how to ensure that the program or agenda of any one of these conferences addresses these critical issues of the organization, state of organization, and how to strengthen that. That's what I would say, but it would be, I think, misunderstood and misread if the ANC were to say now, when these processes of a national dialogue have been set in motion and the ANC calls for its own national dialogue, I think it would be misread at this point in time. However, the conferences that I've alluded to, any one of them can serve to address these issues. Comrade Zah, the Summit of Liberation Movements and South Africa's role in terms of foreign policy in the region is one that people who would be best placed to address this question are perhaps Comrade Tenjiwe or Comrade Clayson, because the foreign policy is a reflection, or it mirrors national policy. That's how foreign policy, it's always about national interests. But since, there's no clarity, because as you've alluded to the GNU, there's no clarity or agreement, even at the level of the GNU, as to our, what really constitutes our national interests. And so that, I think, is something that still has to happen, that the parties within the GNU must go into retreats and thresh out the priorities of our national interests. That would be the basis for our foreign policy as well. Because, as I said, people who are in cabinet and or parliament take an oath, and the oath, in simple terms, calls on, they pledge to be faithful to the Republic, the Constitution, and the law of the Republic. So people in the GNU can't, because, otherwise it means they treat the oath they took and the affirmation to become MPs as fiction if they go out and are not showing any faithfulness to the Republic. Now, you also indicate that branches are run on WhatsApp. Of course, these are modern devices and means of communication. But if that's the be all and end all of the branch political life is through WhatsApp, then that branch will not be able to play the role of being in dynamic touch with the community where it is located. And it would be elitist, and esoteric, so to speak. Now, you also say local councillors are not trusted. Again, here, I mean, it is that issue of, I mean, if local councillors are not trusted, it means the ANC standing in the eyes of local communities is diminishing and it's not trusted unless the community is able to elevate their issues and find prompt responses from the region or the province. Otherwise, this is the coal face. I mean, this is where the ANC interacts with communities very directly at local government level. So if the councillors are not trusted at that level, it means the ANC will not fare well in local government elections. Then Comrade Tato, you assert that betrayal has already happened because compromised people are leading the ANC. And then, of course, I couldn't agree with you more that we need a package of solutions, and that the idea of disbanding structures and starting from scratch in order to weed out those people who bring the name of the ANC into disrepute or are compromised. It's logical and sounds okay, but you know, you have an elected leadership now. And unless the elected leadership arrives at the conclusion that they are a disservice to the ANC, it will not happen. It will not happen because elected leaders, understand that constitutionally they can only be replaced or removed by another conference. Because the question will arise as to on whose authority is this disbandment taking place? Now, the Comrade Tutuko also asked the question, what are the lessons, from this conference of former national liberation movements? Now, other sister parties, Chama Pinduzi and Frelimo, have a succession policy. So when they have a leadership, there's a way in which that leadership successors are identified and selected. They have a structure of elders in Chama Pinduzi. The same applies to Frelimo. That's one lesson that perhaps the ANC may adopt and make it part of its policies and structures. Because you see, we have the Integrity Commission in the ANC. But the Integrity Commission has no original authority. Their authority does not flow out of the constitution of the ANC. So they identify issues relating to integrity, they summon members and so on to appear before them, and then they produce a report that they submit to the Secretary General, who must then present it to the National Executive Committee. And If the National Executive Committee members are affected by that, then it takes long for the National Executive Committee to give effect to the recommendations of the Integrity Commission. So it's a weakness. The Integrity Commission needs original authority, which must be adopted in the form of a resolution at conference, and therefore an amendment to the Constitution must be adopted by conference. That's how the Integrity Commission, if it had original authority, it could give effect to what Comrade Tato is proposing. Now, I said, you know, to be a minority, it shouldn't be a problem. And let me tell you, I was not referring to minority in the legislatures or parliament. I was saying that if you believe that you are adhering to the policies, values, and norms of the ANC in terms of its constitution, even if you are in a minority, that should not be a problem. You don't have to change simply because you are in a minority. That the view you hold is fine. It's fine. And that's why I was saying, if you find yourself in a minority in that sense, you must not despair. You must know how to wait, because that position will be vindicated in the fullness of time. That's what I was referring to, not a minority in terms of seats in a legislature or in parliament. And that clarification I must connect to what Comrade Sillo said about the level of apathy and loss of election, because when I made the statement that it was a hard talk in 2017, that perhaps the ANC needs to lose elections for it to be able to regroup. I was really making a plea, because my sense and experience at that time was that the ANC leadership has lost the ability to hear the cries of ordinary South Africans. And that it is going to lead to the ANC losing its standing and prestige in the eyes of society and in the South African nation. Now, we are a 40% party now in terms of the past elections. And how do we characterize this? We say it's a strategic setback. Now, as I said, when a serious organization deals with mistakes, the first step is it acknowledges the mistake and the weakness, because that's the basis of how you then work out remedial action. But if you say it's a strategic setback, it sounds like nothing wrong has happened. And therefore, it's business as usual. And therefore, we can now focus on on contesting for the leadership in the next conference. Now, you know, if you don't pay attention to organization, Gov, you know, wrote a paper in prison entitled "Organization Key to Success," that you cannot hope to succeed if you are not paying attention to the state of health of the organization. If your focus or preoccupation is that you must be the next leader of the organization. Well and good. You may succeed, but you may succeed and end up leading an organization which is like the PAC with 1 seat in parliament. So organization is the key to success. And when we end up with a 40% support, and remember, comrades, you know, of the people, adult people who qualified to vote in those elections, national elections, 24 million of them did not bother to do so. 24 in total. But of the registered voters, which was 27.7 million people, voters, registered, only 16 of them, 16 million, bothered to turn up on the day of the elections. And therefore, 11 million South Africans registered to vote did not bother to turn up. And as the ANC, we had no capacity, organizational capacity, to mobilize them and ensure that on the day of the elections, they actually come out to vote for the ANC. That is why I'm saying organization is the key to success. And so if we recognize that we are now a 40% party, we ought to be, you know, pulling out all stops to ensure that we pull ourselves out of this rut to be more than 50% in the next elections. So the branch is key in that regard. And as I said, we need to ensure that we recruit and build ANC branch structures. It doesn't matter if processes are manipulated, but we must strive to do the correct thing. Because if you understand, you know, the interpenetration of opposites, if you understand the, you know, quantitative increases, which leads to qualitative change, then we must strive to build branches. Build them and don't preoccupy yourself with, you know, that you want to be the next leader and so on. But let's build the branches, let's do the right thing. Let our branches have a political life that enables the branches to always be in a position to, you know, win the confidence of the communities in which the branch is located. And Comrade Sello, I couldn't agree more with you on where the focus of the ANC branch ought to be. I think you've put your finger on it. Comrade Nikki, yes, your experience and observation is that cadres are undermined in the ANC. And as I said, as long as they do the right things, even if they are victims of, you know, manipulated processes, don't despair. This is the message I want to leave you with. Don't despair. Carry on, continue. The general membership will understand and appreciate that you are an invaluable cadre of this organization. And of course, the quality and caliber of membership is a function of our recruitment strategies, how we recruit, who we target and bring into the organization, and how we create a supportive and appealing environment within the organization so that we retain these members. And yeah, I think that was the last question coming from Comrade Nikki Letu. Yeah. All right, let me pause there, comrades.
Okay,
Comrade Chair.
Comrade President, thank you very much for the engagement on the questions that have been raised and also comments. And I think that we have arrived at the end of this particular session. But also before that, also I need to take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of Sibongiseni Dlomo, who's in the platform, Comrade Becky Mtolo, and also Comrade Basitana Danki from Northwest PEC. Mtolo, we know is from KZN, is a provincial secretary. We acknowledge that your presence, leader. So we really appreciate Comrade Baleka Mbete. Thanks for the patience that you actually afforded us in these engagements. We know it's late now. We really appreciate that patience. We'll continue to learn from yourselves. Now, comrades, perhaps maybe Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, there is a request.
Yeah, I salute all you comrades, Comrade Baleka, Comrade Tenji, Comrade Mtolo, Comrade Danki, all of you comrades and all the leadership present here.
And Comrade President, we also have a ambassador, Comrade Mtinzo Tenjiwe, on the platform.
Comrade Tenjiwe. Yes.
Yes. So I'm also requested, Comrade President, that if you can share the presentation. There is somebody even asked me to say, can the president also redefine the statement that he made between organization and a movement, the difference thereof? So we request that, Comrade President, if you can share the presentation to assist in that regard. You can share with Comrade Cornelius, and therefore it will come in that kind of setup. Yes. Now, lastly, I would like to thank you, everyone, and we really appreciate the patience that you have exercised, Comrade President, to provide this presentation. We have learned a lot out of it. We know that the concept of the renewal is not one-day event. It's actually the process. We have a lot of work to do in the rebuilding of the organization once again, so that it becomes the brand that Comrade Clayson was talking about, that has been desired by many before 1994, in 1994, and so forth. So, unlike now, that when you go in campaign, you have been chased, as Comrade Clayson has indicated. So we hope that we'll succeed in this battle. Just as a vote of thanks, I will request Comrade Tenjiwe Mtinzo, Ambassador, to provide some remarks and also the vote of thanks. Comrade Tenjiwe.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. And thank you, Comrade President, and all the comrades who have participated on this platform. As is usual, it has been quite an informative engagement. And I think what probably the branch, I know I don't belong to this branch, I'm adopted Comrade President, I'm adopted by this branch.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'm active in the branch, but only virtually. I
Yeah.
don't even know where the branch meets. They don't even invite me to branch meetings. It's an opportunity for me to complain.
Yeah.
But at any rate, thank you very much, Comrade Kgalema, for your very incisive presentation. I know that it has raised a lot of questions. I also had a lot of questions, especially about the action that the ANC and its leadership takes after it has resolved, as you were highlighting these matters. We make resolutions and we don't implement them. But to what extent is the leadership itself guilty of undermining its own and its conference's decisions? One of the questions I would have raised, of course, you raised the question of the elections and how your commission, when you made the recommendations of comrades who should not be standing, it was turned down by the NEC itself, the highest body, which led to other people saying that we should actually dissolve the highest body because it really is not doing the work that we think it should be doing. That those were some thoughts by some other people. But I also had questions about the step-down policy. When does this policy ever start? And who is supposed to step down and who is not supposed to step down? I know that when it was originally discussed, it was anyone who has been accused of serious crimes. And when it got to, once again, the highest body, there was a lot of debate. What is the most serious crime, rather? What is the most serious crime? And also as to whether we should wait for the outcomes of a court before we say to a comrade, step aside. Now, these are the many questions that I think the branches should be discussing so that by the time we go to conference, we're quite clear as to what it is that we want to do as the African National Congress. At the moment, the question of a renewed ANC, one hears the words, the renewed ANC, but when you look at what is happening, even at the highest level of the NEC and at the highest level of our leadership, you wonder how renewed the ANC can be. The leader of the Youth League said something that for me was very frightening, said that if the messenger that gives a good message is itself not viewed as a good person, that message is lost. And I wonder if we should not be focusing, we should not be really entertaining this and seeing to what extent are we as messengers messing up the message that was supposed to be giving. Thank you very much, comrades. My proposal to the branch is that perhaps in the absence of Comrade President, we should as a branch just discuss a way forward and how we integrate this discussion into the many discussions and positions that we have so that when we go to whatever conference we'll be going to or policy conference or NGC, hopefully we're going to have all those soon enough. We should have a position, a very clear position about these matters. Otherwise, thank you very much for ever, Comrade Chair and Comrade BEC leaders and all the members of the and cadres of the branch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Tenjum Dinso. That was mouthful, and we really appreciate that. And comrades, it's now 16 past 10. I really want to appreciate your presence, and therefore this meeting is officially dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, comrade. Thank you, Comrade Chair.
Thank you, comrades.
Good night.
Amandla.
Amanda.
Wait, too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Yeah.